Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Geraci, 30-year comic book industry veteran for DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, CrossGen, IDW, Image, little everybody. So, I mentioned in a community post that I was going to be reviewing this book, and here it is. Captain America, Annual Number 4, 1977. This is about the time Kirby was wrapping up his Captain America era. He did it for 2 years, and what's interesting, growing up, I had started a year prior to Kirby, which was Steve Englehart and Sal Buscema, and then later Frank Robbins, and then Tony Isabella and John Warner were the writers. And Frank Robbins was the artist the last half year or so. And then this came, well, not this, issue 193, which had Captain America penciled, written and penciled and edited by Jack Kirby. So you got 3 checks out of it, which is okay, because if you're creating this stuff from scratch, you are sort of like your own editor. I mean, if you're doing both chores, this is cool stuff. Blah 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 blah. Well, Magneto's here, and I was thrilled because through most of Kirby's run, there really weren't any other classic characters, villains, or anything. I mean, I give him points for adding the Falcon, because the Falcon was, they'd been a team for a long time, and the thing is that Falcon's design by John Romita, I think, Kirby did a really great version of it, and he did a great job writing Falcon. So, but towards the end of his run, Archie Goodwin, who was credited as a consulting editor, Archie says, well, can you bring back a classic villain or so, like the Red Skull? So, right towards the end of Kirby's 10 year, you had Red Skull, and it was so cool. It was just really great stuff. And then we got Magneto out of the whole situation just by Archie's prompting, and he may not even have said Magneto, but this is one I really enjoy. Towards the end, I liked this first year. I kind of quit with issue 201 because 201 went from the Mad Bomb saga into this weird Dimension Z kind of stuff with the Night People and all that. And it was very, how can I say? It was very it wasn't that interesting. I'll be frank. It wasn't that interesting. There were moments that were, but it seemed like Kirby eschewed classic characters or classically, or a new villain with a classic style in favor of drawing like these weird, freakish monsters, these blobular creatures. And then he had the swine, which I didn't care about. But I came back right towards the end when Arnim Zola came along, because he was a fascinating design. And then the Skull came. But many years later, I loved Kirby's 2-year run from 1976 to 77 on its own merits. It's like I'm not comparing it to what came before or after. And but Magneto's here, and the new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And let's get to it. See, written, drawn, edited by Jack Kirby, inked by John Verporten and John Tartaglio. Now they are so good. They're bold. They're just what he needs, because I think his stuff works good with that, or with Frank Giacoya, who did a lot of the Mad Bob saga. And people are going to hate me, but I've never been that keen on Mike Royer's inks because it's sort of a trace job, and sometimes you need to beef stuff up more. I've liked a lot of Royer's stuff over him, but just he wasn't my favorite inker, but a lot of people feel that way. So we're catching up. Now we get the plot. It's this, Joe Sixpack guy who found an alien and put an ad in the paper about it. I love this panel where Magneto's like trying to chummy up to him. He goes, "Where is this unusual person?" Pulls out his watch. Me. So Magneto steals a watch. He goes, "Ha ha! He's mine now, mine." Crunch. And that's just so funny. That's so comedic. I wish Kirby had a little more humor in this era, because for 2 years it was very much grit teeth, humorless stories. And I'm not saying you have to be like Justice League by Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis, etc. I love that wreck. But I mean, Cap was just sort of, he had no personality. He was just, and similar with other books he took over, like Black Panther, that I just couldn't fully enjoy. But I do now. But as a kid, I was gravitated to like Steve Englehart, Steve Gerber, Conway, just all those guys that were in the here and now. And you look back, and they are kind of dated as far as the clothes and stuff. But the interesting thing is, Kirby stuff isn't dated. I thought the opposite when I first read these books. I thought he was way behind the times. And in a sense he was, but in the best possible way. If I'm talking funny, it's because sinuses again. Is it like a vicious cycle that if you're a comic fan, you have bad sinuses, and you have a bad sinus because you're around pulp paper all the time, like moldy old pulp paper, and then it's like, where does the allergy begin and the comic end? So we get to meet our new villains, and they're given really basic names. At the time I thought they were stupid, but looking back now, there's so many dumb names, but these characters, they weren't bad at all. Like Burner is the guy is that guy. Lifter, Slither, I don't remember that guy, but those are great names. They really are. And Mark Grunwald, community cop that he was, continuity cop that he was, he brought them back for issue with John Walker as Captain America, and so you get some nice action going here. And that was the other thing that frustrated me, is like Jack is known for action, and his titles really didn't have a lot of them in the 70s. Look at that. That's so classic Magneto. That could come out of like any issue of the first year of X-Men. So I'm glad he listened to Archie. Man, that's cool stuff. That's Peepers. He shoots force blasts out of his eyes like Cyclops, but he's not nearly as handsome. Not nearly as handsome. There you go. Wow. What about my image duplicator? Said that thief, Roy Lichtenstein. Beautiful cover by Ramita. Look how dramatic it is. I like it. It's tilted too. All those buildings. So you get the Black Widow. This is early Bob Brown Daredevil stuff. He had done stuff for DC for the longest time, and he did Avengers for a while, and it was not a good fit. It just wasn't. He wasn't a team book kind of guy in a sense, but although he did some beautiful splashes, he did some really nice splashes. In the Avengers Defenders War, he did a great fight between Swordsman and Valkyrie, and but it just, people were like down on him, like, oh, he sucks. But he's better with single, regular characters that don't have superpowers that are, make them fly across the world and such. And Daredevil and Black Widow have been partners for a few years now. And this is inked by a very young Paul Gulacy, who graduated, a fellow grad of mine from Art Institute of Pittsburgh. I never met the guy, but now there you go. Bob Brown is showing you what he's doing, and that is flawless. The anatomy's flawless. The angles of the images is flawless. That's a fantastic job. And I do like Paul Gulacy, although he kind of makes the eyes and faces of people really harsh. but I think that's his only inking job, and he went right on to like Master Kung Fu. So, and the Black Widow is very dramatic. Her figure. So they show up. And it's interesting because the relationship they have, especially like the next 2 years, it was so obvious that it was an adult relationship. It's so obvious at that time that they were lovers in the truest sense of the word, but it didn't have to be implied in the book. You just kind of realize they have such a mature relationship, turbulent, and but at the same time, they seem to be very intimate. And like that's a good face, but man, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of bashed, you know. You don't put that kind of fading around somebody's eyes unless they, you know, fall down and hit their eye or something like that, or running through a door. So it's a little too, ham-fisted. I love that last panel. So she apologizes. Moon Dragon. Ugh. And again with the eyes, it's a little too crazy. I do like that coming down the stairs like that. Woohoo! And our Marvel value stamp is Man Thing. Click them and collect them. I actually did that, but I never completed them. I never got the book that's supposed to go in. It was just one of those little cool Marvel things. I like all red panels or figures, and to suggest excitement or alarm. This are really great. This is probably one of the big successes. At this time, I've said many episodes, but if this is your first episode, I can't deprive you of this. But Marvel's trying to save money on how much they pay artists. Instead of 17 pages an issue, they wanted 16 pages, but the 16th would be printed sideways, and you'd have to do 2 pages. You know, like say where my knuckle is, there'd be like a left page and right page. Some people did double page spreads, and some that were inked by Vinny Coletta were just awful because he just inked, like he usually does. But Galassi here is doing it so tight that you don't feel that it's a double page spread that's reduced. Similarly, Joe Sinnott, when he did Submariner and Fantastic Four, it the same feel. So now see how magnificent this is. The storyline, the how can you call it? Love that. It's like this great choreographed fight. He takes those little stickers, puts on his helmet, and yanks them off. And Black Spectre comes along, and he's kind of stuck. But hey, props to Bob Brown. We can do Justice Inc. How about that Joe Kubert cover? Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Now, this I picked up much later in life because I had the Kirby issues. I think there was only one issue that wasn't done by Kirby, and I think he took over. He was asked to take over because towards the end of his contract with DC before he went over to Marvel, they just kind of threw things at him to do. Stuff like this, and a first issue special where he created a lot of characters. Now here we got Denny O'Neil and Al McWilliams as an artist. And Al McWilliams is really good. His inking especially is just... Yeah, this is his origin. Some of it has that old Avenger strip style. Just the way the panels fall and the... Just love everything. Exciting, a lot of exciting stuff that came out at the time. It was the Joker, Claw the Unconquered, Ghost Castle. Yeah, he's got great stuff. I think this is later in his life that he did this stuff. I don't know how much more he did afterwards. Now we got Avengers Giant Size number 4, The Wedding of Vision and Scarlet Witch, and the Celestial Madonna, aka Mantis, and the Kotari, however you say, the living plant race. The guy's transformed into the Swordsman, who was her lover until he died 2 issues of Giant Size Avengers ago. Man, look at that. That's a beautiful... KANG really managed to fit all this stuff very well. Without it, it fits. You know, in fact, he was so smug, he managed to keep Shellhead's elbow on the cover. It wasn't like he had to pull everything close and get all wonky in that. I'm being silly, but you know what I'm saying. Well, Don Heck wraps up the Steve Englehart story, and John Tartaglione, another guy. It's a different book. And here's the thing. I like it a lot. You know, I've defended Heck on a lot of fronts. A lot of people are like, oh, he's just too corny, or his stuff is weak, or whatever. But you have to understand, like, he was strong in certain books, like Iron Man and even Daredevil. And stuff like that. And his best stuff was either Cowboys and something based, ground into reality. But here, he's got to really draw all these crazy ideas that Englehart had for the Avengers. And Sal Buscema did a great job with it. But Sal's one of those... He's one of the most unique creatures where he could take, let's say, Marvel Team Up number 1, the first annual actually, where he had the new X-Men and all these other characters, and they had just come out, and Sal just said, okay, I'll draw it, blah, blah, blah. He draws anything. So, well, Don is doing it, but he's asked a lot to keep things visually interesting, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think the inking really helps. I love this. The Titanic 3 have been trashed. Titanium Man, Crimson Dynamo, Radioactive Man. Such a great bunch. Such a great bunch of guys. So what happened? I picture like in the Warner Brothers cartoons where the eyes would like zip, 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 and it would turn into like a one-eyed Jack. You know, you get like lemon, orange. Not win. But yeah, it's really fun stuff. You know, seeing him do Iron Man and him doing Hawkeye, his main creation, who really had a lot to do with my appeal to him because it's such a great design. It's such a great design. Listen to me. Oh man, when I saw this ad, I wanted so bad to have all these issues. The printing's really thick on this ad. We get KANG the Conqueror strutting his stuff. And I'm 100% sure that Don Heck designed KANG. Because it's really not a Kirby design. And I've never seen any layouts of it or designs I've never seen like in the Kirby Collector story that he created. Because this is just such a different design. I love it. And when I saw this, it blew my mind. Ant-Man. It's Ant-Man. Man, it's so great. He draws hoods like nobody else. Oh, Edgar G. Robinson. That's what I was trying to think of his name. That's what he looks like. Like, I got you. Little injection. In his boot. Something he never ever used again. And I love this, like lassoing somebody and tossing them around. It reminds me kind of like how in, was it Civil War when Falcon briefly fought Ant-Man and they did a lot of flipping back and forth with the size changes and such. Then came the Black Widow. How about that? Ooh. John Buscema doing some magic. I can't imagine what a page like this would go for. And what I like about her costume too is she could be undercover, just wear a coat, and it looks like black leggings. You know, nobody would be any the wiser. So I love those Marvel reprints in the back because they really added to the overall the knowledge of the Marvel universe. I can't talk today for some reason. I don't know why. Rom, spaceknight. And Al Milgrom cover and the battle with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Courtesy of Bill Mantlo, Sal Buscema, and Joe Sinnott. Oh, man. What's weird is when Sinnott started inking this, it was because John Byrne wanted to ink himself on Fantastic Four. And although Byrne isn't nearly as good as Sinnott, I liked it anyway. It was very bold. It was very scribbly in some places, but it was really, really exciting. So you got Joe Sinnott looking for a book, and he gave him Rom, and all of a sudden you got two books that are stronger. And kind of like when Byrne left the X-Men, you had Dave Cockrum waiting in the wings to take over again, and I love that because I felt like, well, I got more books to enjoy. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Torpedo, man, I love Torpedo. And I don't know if this issue is worth anything because, to my knowledge, it's only the second showing of them with Rogue. Because the first one was Avengers Annual. And Brotherhood of Evil Mutants 2.0 is free. Now here's a funny thing. When Rogue first was introduced in the Michael Golden, Chris Claremont story, she had a hard look on her face. She looked like she was much older. You know, she looked like, you know, she was in full flower of a woman in middle age. But, nope. We'll find out later. But yeah, look how hard it is. But that's how she first appeared. So, I love Rom taking on the Brotherhood. Yeah, see, it was always kind of snarly. He tries to kiss Rom to take his powers. There ain't a man inside this armor. We're fighting us machine. Which is untrue. Here's Avalanche with his arms broken. Oh, that's right. Avalanche fought the Hulk as well as this underground dweller who works with the Mole Man, I think. And he got his arms broken. So he's like, he's trying to help out. And he's like, mine is still the power to shatter the earth. So basically screws up. he goes, "Cease, Avalanche, cease! You have moved the earth against your own people." Pale there, he's like, "Just wanted to help." Ah. Even though I bought the 3 ROM omnibuses, just came out. I'm going to keep my floppies, I think, because that's just how I remember reading them. Yeah. See, what's interesting is the contrast between these 2 issues. I think one more issue that was in X-Men. Yeah, early X-Men. She still had sort of a hard look to her. It was a Dave Cockrum issue run, I don't know, after 150, I believe. And but when Paul Smith introduced her, a year or 2 later, when she became a member, he de-aged her to like a teenager. He took all hardness out of it, gave her a soft, round face, and it kind of was weird. She was all coquettish and very sweet and everything. Where I guess they just decided that's the way to go, because maybe that's what Paul wanted to do, and make her more relatable than being some, angry character that's been bitter for years and stuff like that. So, but it was cool that Rogue would come on to be one of the most famous members of the X-Men, and that is it. So I hope you like this. I hope you don't mind my voice and my breathing, because it's just my sinuses. Same old fun, I've always wondered if it was if there was like a vicious cycle. It's like kids with bad allergies who like comic books are having their allergies aggravated by the pulp paper. So it's just like a vicious cycle, or it's a symbiotic relationship. So if you're going to be big into comics, classic comics, then you better have good sinuses or good medicine. So take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this, and much love to all of you.